Test, test. Right, great. So welcome to the stream. A few minutes in, figured that my setup, because I haven't used it for a very long time, is not working. So welcome to the first stream of Vandeanson's Apocalypse after the release on Steam. Spontaneous stream. Either ask or either let people that might join the stream ask questions and answer anything they want to know about setting up a mission or clear not working. I'm looking forward to receive a lot of error reports, problems that the mod still has, and otherwise I'll just try to play around a little bit, open a, sort of create a standard mission, play around in the settings, basically whatever I would do to set up a very basic mission that people can probably use that to get started with VA. I'm playing on Generous Hideouts because the map is pretty perfect for what VA does. Many features work best on a map with a lot of objects, lootable objects like Generous Hideouts has, so it goes very well. Obviously also with the whole theme of the map, so the whole apocalyptic vibe. So obviously first you start by loading mods. Currently I have DBA, of course, Vandeanson's Apocalypse, Improved Melee System, and Web Knight Zombies I've turned off, but Improved Melee System remained in there. Okay, that's fine. Devour Kings, Necroplague, Mutants, Ravage, of course, Cup Terrain Core as the basis for Generous Redux, the map we're playing on, Enhanced Movements, of course, and RHS, the US Armed Forces version, Divaka Stalker, Anomalies, that's kind of cool. I'm using the INI database 2 database saver or database system that Vandeanson's Apocalypse uses. Save various to basically make the game persistent. Urban Rappling, why not? Cup weapons to have some more weapons, and of course Vandeanson's Apocalypse. And what I usually do is I first place a couple of playable characters. I ravage zombies, ambient zombies module. That's still the best zombie spawner. Use the boltus ratio. I reduce the number of. This is assuming I'm playing this on hosted multiplayer. I usually play multiplayer even if I play solo because of the respawn system that I can use. And I would usually cap the population limit to 10 or 15. That's 10 per player, and maybe 20 for the 30. Just not to go too crazy with that. You'll have to figure that out, like how much your server or your PC can take. And it's, not always fun if it's just hordes and hordes of zombies. Usually leave the rest that. Yeah, I don't use the other Ravage systems anymore. They're good, of course, but meanwhile, VA does a lot of similar things that I, just prefer. But for me, the Ravage zombie system is still unchallenged. I really like to use that. And as figured today, or yesterday, actually the whole zombie infection system only works with Ravage zombies for some reason, because I cannot detect the zombie hits on on the other mods, on the other mod creatures. So that's a bit of a shame. I'm working on that, but I don't have high hopes that I can fix it. So, but yeah, obviously, if you prepare a multiplayer mission, you would create a couple of playable characters. I placed the Ravage AI or zombie module spawner. I actually going to add the atmosphere module. Oh, dynamic weather. Yes, let's try that. Just right. Under attributes, there's two settings I always change. It's multiplayer. I go to respawn on custom position. They will show on counter. Give it like 5 seconds to respawn. Probably put that higher so people do not respawn that quickly. But I don't have the patience. Auto-assign slots. Don't choose scoreboard. I want to be able to manually respawn. That's it. I don't use the revive mode. We have a slightly different system in EA. And then I also changed attributes general to allegiance of independence. So both up 4 and blue 4 are hostile. Something. That's pretty much it. I do. For now, I'm not planning to upload this specific version to the workshop or so. It's just, some playtime. So I'm not going to go into details with description.ext or so. So we're just messing around. So now I will look into the VA settings. Always work on the server setting, never on the mission or client. It's just an easy rule of thumb. It's usually best. Else your settings might get overwritten depending on how you play the mission. Always double check that both those tick boxes are ticked. Server tab and those two ticked. So you're sure the setting you're working on is taken over. Also for any client that or any other player that might play your game. Yeah, so obviously game options, go back settings, add-on options, and then on the server tab, there you find any options for active mods, where those mods have CBA settings, and obviously there's a lot of VA stuff. Go quickly. AI. That's something I recently fixed because when that's empty here, we had an error that basically what happens if AI dies, VA will spawn items into the bags of the AI, which is useful if you have units that are not spawned by but are hand placed or spawned by another mod. You can also loot VA loot from them, so like survival loot, food, and so on. Just a little background. So that we fixed. This is a system where you can adjust how the AI is spawned by VA is equipped. There's this option where you can apply the Ravage AI equipper if you have the Ravage AI system set up. I usually use my own VA AI equipper. If you have a specific money item that you want to use, you can enter the class name here. Just a name like this without called that thing. And so here you can just adjust whatever you want. The AI, any AI that spawns to be equipped. Military chances quite high. Use that to 70. This is looking at AI. So think what your AI, your possible enemies you encounter in the map, what they should have. Obviously, you should sort of balance it so they have some gear, but they should not be overly equipped. Because if they're like fully equipped with anything you need and you kill one or two, you're already fully geared. So make sure they have at least a pistol and can defend themselves, but that they are not completely overgeared. So we give him a bit higher rifle chance. And adjust how much ammunition they carry. If I remember correctly, I added code that makes them shoot. They do not run out of ammo while they fight you, but you can only loot a certain amount of ammo from them. So there's a bit of a cheat behind, but else they would run out of ammo, and that would be kind of boring. Because it's possible that they just run out of ammo before you even encounter them, because obviously they also fight zombies and so on. You can adjust if they have a rifle, what attachments they may spawn with and what gens they have. So depending on what you select, for example 100% optics, it has a 100% chance that any matching optic will spawn on the weapon. I never put that to 100% because it gets too easy if every enemy spawns fully equipped, obviously. Then like if the one group of enemies you're just fully equipped, that's kind of boring. Make sure the guys have 100% chance of being equipped with a pistol. Axe. Just various settings, just play around with it. Can define custom items, so you can create a list and tell it what chance there should be that those items spawn and how many of those items. So it will always, if you say 3 here, 3 items and 100% chance, then it will select 3 times a random item from that custom list you entered and will spawn that item into the inventory of the AI. For mission makers that might be interesting if you have specific items you want some or each AI to carry. Explosives, grenades, whatever you want. Chance of grenade and amount of grenade. Money chance is related to the money item you have up here, for example Ravage money. VA basically works without money. So far we used to have like trader systems, but that never really worked, so we got rid of it. And I think you're either pro trading and currency in the survival game, or you're against it. Not sure if it adds good gameplay. If your main goal is to hoard money and sell stuff and then buy stuff with it. I'm not sure if that's funny. Zombie loot settings, so if you kill a zombie, they can drop loot. And here you can enter the chances that that happens. You might kill a lot of zombies, so make sure that that's adequately low, else you have too much loot. So probably 5% is already quite enough. So play around with that. If you see something that doesn't react properly, or you find that you have applied a setting and it doesn't really react that way in your game, let me know. You can adjust the AI skills. I'm like 80% sure that that stuff works. If you feel like it doesn't work, let me know. I think that system's a bit weird to stand, the armor system, but you know, let me know. Bot time I turned down a bit, aiming accuracy a bit down, aiming speed down, courage, shake, let them make them a bit human. You can also turn that off if you have a different system that applies. I'm sure there's way better AI systems out there. I never really liked to play around with Arma AI. It's always very frustrating. So the stuff I do is very limited. The AI survivor system is basically allowing you to spawn survivors, AI survivors into the world, groups or solo survivors, and you can also assign a chance that they turn into stalkers, so that they try to hunt any player that comes near. You can select a couple of settings, enable a debug system to monitor the spawns, enable and disable the system in general, force the AI to use flashlight. I kind of like that at nights, so you can actually see those guys, and it's kind of cool if you see that in the distance. Adjust the spawn distance, and so those whole distance things is helpful, and you need to adjust that to your map, smaller, bigger maps, and also to how many AI you spawn, how much can your PC or server take, and you know, just play around with it. You don't want the AI to spawn right in front of your nose or behind you. There should be some minimum distance from you, and but there should be a maximum distance where they are away. There should also be a spread, so each AI group should not be closer to each other than 800 meters. They shouldn't spawn further away than 4K meters from the target player. Target player means the system is server-sided, so it will select one random player and spawn a group near them, near that guy. If you want to specify specific units to spawn, so not randomized VA units with randomized gear, you can enter the class names in here. Depending on what faction. If you leave it empty, it will generate random units. You can include blue force spawns. It will then spawn units that you can interact with. You can ask them for some help and they might give you something. If you get close, they will spawn a camp. And yeah, well, you can interact with them and maybe find some food or water where they are. Okay. Custom skills apply only to unit spawn, baby. No, that's just AI unit. It's not. VA is not scanning for any other spawned unit. Nope, that's a good point. Yeah, it's just VA spawned unit. Anything that spawns by another system or that spawns from Ravage AI module, that's not considered. The only thing that VA does is if any AI dies, it spawns VA items into that unit's backpack. Oh yeah, good point. Thanks. You're Kyoshu, right, on Discord? K-Labs on YouTube and Steam. Just so I got the right connection. Right, okay, so you can adjust the size of the patrol. Right, okay, thought so. So you're probably next to the dude and myself, you're probably the most knowledgeable guy about VA, from what I can see in on Discord. Hey man, hey Jenna, how are you doing? I'm seeing you're going wild on Daisy. So yeah, okay, ask anything you want to know, or any feedback you have, appreciated, or things that don't work. Right, back to the AI Survivor spawner. Patrol size, minimum max size, so if you want lone wolves, you can adjust that here. If you want bigger groups, huge groups, you can set that here. Different waypoints, so the survivors will spawn random waypoints, so they patrol the area, and you can set sort of their radius, so currently they will spawn a waypoint 900 meters from the previous waypoint, so you can sort of set the routes or the distances those guys patrol. If they're stalkers, where we come to that, they will just get an approximate reading of your position and try to follow you, or whatever target player they select on a multiplayer scenario. And yeah. Right. By the way, I hope you can hear me well. At the beginning of the stream, I realized my microphone and even my desktop sound wasn't set up properly, so there was probably no sound, and my first intro try was mute, so I hope you can hear me well. It's been a while since I streamed or recorded anything. So then the AI survivor system, and most of my AI spawn systems, they work in a spawn cycle. So the server will spawn every 5 seconds in that case, but we decrease that. Every minute they try to spawn AI, so every minute they will scan if there's any player on the server. If so, they will select the server, the player, and they will see how many AIs have already been spawned. If we're not at the top limit that you can see down here for the server, it will attempt to spawn a group, and if that maximum per player or per server is reached, it will just pause for another 60 seconds, depending on your setting, before it attempts again to spawn something. Yeah. Deletion distance, distance was German there for you. 8,000 meters, so whenever no player is within 8,000 meters of the leader, the squad leader of the spawned AI, then the AI is deleted and a new group can be spawned. Groups, exactly. So that's per player and per server. Each cycle you can also, even if there is a slot for another group, you can set the chance for a spawn, which basically means it's it's a bit random. It's not every 60 seconds you know that there is a group spawning. So sometimes, and that cycle should probably for testing, obviously a little bit shorter. But play around with that. But you want to reach something where you're not sure if realistically there is a group nearby. There could be something spawning, maybe not, but it should be unpredictable. So there's also a spawn chance, so it's maybe a 70% chance that a group spawns. So you never really know. You can never relax, but it's not like you can just sit there and wait for the AI to pop up. And then 30% of each successfully spawned group will be a stalker group that will automatically select a nearby player and tries to hunt him down. They will not get your exact position. I think it's probably a 200 meter or 100 meter rough estimation where you are. They just go towards your general direction until you get out of reach, and then they despawn. What did we actually put in? AI spawns, 800 distance, fine. Milgear chance, no, we reduced that. We have all blue for that can be friendly and up for an independent and will be hostile also to each other, so that could be interesting. There's at least one. And at least one and maximum +3. Right. Okay, so we have the AI set up, the non-zombie AI that is. Let me quickly check something. Wi-Fi might need something. Other than that, we have obviously the zombie AI that we already set up by the module. You can quickly look into Devour's Necroplague mutants. I kinda like that because they still scare me. I always forget that I have them online and they're really scary. Those crabs, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but look into it, it's fun. And last time I checked, they didn't have a ambient spawner similar to Ravage, so I created one similar to the AI spawner, and yeah, you can play around with it. So basically select whatever type of Necroplague mutant you want, and depending on your scenario you want to play, but I really like the parasites because they're small and they stalk you, so that's a cool addition because you need to stay alert because they creep up on you and they might just attack you out of the blue. Toxmotes and all the other mutants might be a bit overkill for a survival scenario. There you have to adjust what you think makes sense for your game. But if you play sort of a DayZ style mission, you probably start off with very, very limited firepower, so maybe that's a bit of an overkill. But if you play in a group, that might be really cool to have those those Toxmote guys. I think they take a lot of damage, so they're kind of cool. And you can also, in addition to the settings here, this is just a spawner, you can go into the Necroplague settings and really customize those guys. That's really cool. They also come with their own infection system that's not yet linked with VA. Hi Juan, you need the Necroplague mod. So VA does just spawn them, but you need the Necroplague mod active, and you have the settings to adjust the mutants and their abilities and damage and so on. And what VA does, it just allows you to select what you want to spawn, and it will ambiently spawn them around players on the map. But for that you need the mod active. Yeah, good point. So yeah, but I like to have that active. It's a cool addition. I need to quickly be right back. Yeah, we're back. Right, quality stream here. So, wife is happy, kids happy, make the crowd happy. Hey man, thank you for seeing my game. Which one are you on Discord? Oh wait, yeah. Cobears, probably. Ah, okay. Right. Welcome. Good. Okay, back to setting up this thing. So what did we do? We set up zombies via Ravage. We set up AI survivors, AI settings, and Necroplague mutants. Sure, man. Welcome. I hope you like the new version of VA. I think it's much better. My personal view. But then again, maybe it's just also much more complex and buggy. The next weeks will probably show when people get more into it. It's a bit funny because I obviously have that a certain blindness. I know how it's supposed to work, and I probably from scratch use it in a way so it works. So I'm really looking forward to get feedback from people that use it, that see it the first time, that might struggle with completely different things, or stuff doesn't work if you do not do it exactly the same way that I do it. So gonna be interesting to collect feedback from you guys. So yeah, everyone feel free to ask anything. Try to show stuff. Right. This is the Jurassic, like the Dinosaur spawner. It works similar than the other AI spawners. It selects a random player and spawns raptors from the Jurassic Raptors mod around those players. What else did I want to spawn? Zombie spawner. This is a zombie spawner that was quite frequently asked about on Steam and in Discord. It's by default a VBK zombie spawner. They're quite nice. They also come with, the mod comes with the melee system, so that's kind of cool. The only reason it's not further or even more incorporated in VA is that I cannot get the melee system and the mobs, the zombies to work on dedicated server. So whenever I spawned VBK zombies on the dedicated server, either I could not damage them as a player or they could not damage me. So I'm probably doing something wrong. If someone is able to get it fixed, then let me know. But yeah, as the dude says it, whatever we looked at, we always fall back to Ravage. It's always the most reliable. It's a really good spawn system in my view. The zombies are quite good. The reaction to players, the system behind is kind of cool. So yeah, we always fall back there. But we want to give everyone, the option to select their own preference. So this is your tool to either spawn VBK zombies, because to my knowledge VBK doesn't have an own ambient spawner, so you can use this system. It's in my view not as good as the Ravage zombie spawner, but I think it works. And you can also use the custom zombies field here to just add any class name of any zombie mod you want to spawn, so zombies and demons or whatever. And just make sure the class names correspond with the side faction of the class. So gonna mix that. Any problems with different maps? No, VA works on any map. You might have to tune your when we get to that, the side spawners a bit differently. So the smaller the map is, you have to maybe spawn less stuff and maybe also retune the distances. So how far can one side be to the other? We'll get to that. And how many sides can spawn. So the map is not too packed, depending on what scenario you want to play. But usually all properly made maps work. Generous Redux is the best for VA because first the genre works, the theme works, and Generous Redux has a lot of objects that can be used to loot and interact with the map. So that's the main preference. A lot of other Arma maps are pretty empty, so you cannot really scavenge that much. So interact with objects to loot stuff or find stuff. You then have to rely on ground loot, so stuff that loots in buildings. That's the second loot economy system of VA, where it spawns loot into buildings. That must then work, or just killing AI. But in general it works. One thing, and that's a very specific one. Yeah, what the dude says there. No interactable objects, exactly. And sometimes if you do not have if you have islands, the fake underground side spawner does not have a good place to spawn its assets. So you will see floating fake bunkers in the air. With maps like Generous Redux, where you see here, those fake bunkers will spawn out here. So the entries spawn somewhere on the map, and then the fake bunker structures that you get teleported to, like the feeling you're underground now, they're somewhere in the air outside of the area. So no player can go there, you usually don't see it. But if you have a island map, that cannot be done. I can for some reason not spawn those structures outside in the sea. It just doesn't work for some reason. The teleportation there doesn't work. So that's a bit of a problem. So if you have islands, then probably turn off the fake underground sites, but everything else should pretty much work. What you, for example, have in Tanoa is that because of the terrain and the vegetation, bigger sites have more problems to find a suiting place, because the bandit camps, the big ones, they need some sort of a flat area to spawn all the assets. And then it's possible that it can't just not spawn all the bigger sites. So take your map and play around with it. Make sure markers are enabled so you can test where the sites are spawned. But you will quickly see what works and what doesn't. And yeah, if you set up the distances and the amount of sites wrong, then you'll see it will be broken, as the dude says. Correct. Right. The dude might have more stuff too. I'll let him add stuff, but I'll go on with my setup here. Exactly. Test, change, and test again. That's till you get a feeling for your map, and then what works best, and make sure to make your life a bit easier. Have markers enabled in the VA settings of the specific spawners, and it will help you to figure out what works and what doesn't. So what we have set up now is all the AI spawner and the AI settings. Let's quickly go into the site settings, maybe, because we're now just speaking of it. Now we have a big map, we have a map with a coastline, and we have a map with a sea. We also have a map with a unused map space in the back, to the left, to the top, and so with what I've said before, is basically you can use this map to spawn any kind of site, all the ships, the boats, the sunken shipwrecks, and the underground bunkers. Obviously, if you have a map where there's no water, don't spawn the shipwrecks and the boats, because that doesn't make sense. So each of the sites we have a, and sites are just, as it says sites, it's bandit camps, boats, heli crashs, heli spawn, hideouts, shipwrecks, underground sites. And that's most stuff was already in VA2, previous version, but I think we improved quite a bit all of the stuff. I think all of those sites have been overhauled like 5 times or so. And what is new is the underground sites. I think the shipwreckage we changed a bit. There's a couple of videos in the devlog where you see that, where we worked on that. Basically shipwrecks spawn out of the coast. And in the proximity on the beaches you will find some wreckage that hint you to a shipwreck, and at the shipwreck there's a lot of loot. But let's start from top. Bandit camps. Every site comes with loot settings, because most sites have, first they need to be found, then they have enemies there, and there's usually a loot crate there, and you can adjust for each type. You can adjust what sort of loot should be in there. Should there be more loot, so increase the factor of food, sorry. Should there be mainly weapons or mainly attachments? So that's down to what you want to do. As always, for your gameplay fun, it's probably better to have less crazy stuff. So if every crate you find is full of military weapons, maxed out on magazines and attachments, it's probably a bit less fun when you look forward to some sort of progress gameplay where you build up your gear. But yeah, adjust to whatever you want to play. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. You see that for every type of site. Just increase if you want to have more civilian items, more medical items, more food, weapons, more magazines. If you want to, we have this magazine repack, unload, and so on options where you can take 2 half empty magazines and put them together into one full magazine and one empty one. By default, VA spawns randomly full mags. So some mags might spawn with 1 bullet, 1 round in it, and others are full. If you don't want that, if you only want full mags, just click that, and that site will only spawn full mags. Up to you. Now, spawn iterations, whatever you set here will be applied once, unless it will spawn 3 weapons. Sorry, I mentioned it wrong before. This number is not a chance, it's an amount, a fixed amount. It will spawn 3 weapons, 3 random attachments, 3 random military weapons, but it was magazines. And here you can select if that whole thing should be done once to a crate, to the loot box, or if it should be done more than once, 2 times, 3 times. It will then just do that thing multiple times and, have a bigger variety of random weapons that are selected. Anytime this happens, it will access the loot pool that you can adjust depending on your active mods and your settings. We'll look into, and it will select randomly weapons from there. The loot pool in VA is categorized into civilian loot, medical loot, food, survival loot, military loot, and so on, and depending on your settings, it will spawn accordingly. I hope that makes sense. I should really write some sort of a wiki. There's a lot of stuff, but it's also fun, I guess, to discover that stuff. Yeah, and what the dude says is basically this. So you can either just go through all the settings, how I do it, unless I'm working on our test server, and and but you can also just export and use the CBA underline settings.sqf file and file patching active to work in a separate file in your mission file, where you can just, you have a whole list of variables and you can just amend those variables. You don't have that interface, then you just have those variable names that you can see here when I hover over it. You obviously need to understand what those variables mean, but it's another way of doing it. The bandit camps, I enabled the bandit camps. I want 9 bandit camps. They should not be closer to each other than 700 meters. Let's make that 1000 meters. They should not be closer than 300 meters to any other site. So if a helicrash site should not spawn right on top of a bandit camp, and so on. Bandit camps should have military geared units, maybe a 90% chance that they're military geared, so very high. You could add your own class name, so if you do that, it will just, it will apply the template of your unit that you entered in here, and it might, some sort of ranger marines from CUP or so, it will add those, or whatever you select. Just put those units in the correct pool for the right faction. If you don't do that, if you leave it empty, you can then just, you'll have randomly geared units guarding those bandit camps. Here again, you can select what type of factions can be considered to be in the camp. I deselect blue 4 because my player is blue 4, I only want enemies there. Size of the patrols. Damn, I'm actually not sure if that's active. I don't think they patrol anymore, but I'm not sure. Let's check that out. Boats, you can have boats spawn near the coastline. You can select what type of boat should be there. I think here, if you override that, it will only spawn that list of boats, so in that case just one boat. Those boats should respawn if they're if they're destroyed. We don't want markers because everybody can see where the boats are. Want that 15 boats, so you can move along the coast a bit better. It's kind of cool. And if a boat is destroyed, there will be a certain respawn within those times. I guess that's... Right, okay, it's a random chance. Okay, good. So there might be a patrol at the bandit camp. Makes sense to me, I just couldn't remember it, but I always wanted to have patrols around the camp as well. That can surprise you. Maybe something to test. Again, the whole AI thing is so annoying and so randomly not working, or maybe I just don't understand it, but often the stuff was just not working for a long time, or suddenly it stopped working, so very often I kept it very simple and was relying on probably that, users can use other AI enhancing mods to make their AI a bit more dangerous. Classic helicrash. You can also we changed helicrash a little bit, so now you can find a helicrash site, and there will be a loot crate somewhere nearby. So spoke about it in my devlog videos, but that's how it works now. So you can adjust what loot is in the loot box. We enable helicrash, no markers, that will be too easy. We add a couple more crash sites. The crash sites should be a bit further away from each other. They should be not too close to other sites. And here also, if you put in too large numbers, like if the helicrash must be 10,000 meters away from any other site, there's a chance that there's just not enough space for the feature to spawn. So make sure that it's reasonable, but think of it, the site must have enough space to spawn. So depending on your map, you might have to adjust those distances. That's amount of sites and the distances of the sites that they can spawn to each other and to other sites might be the biggest problem when you get it wrong. And you will notice if the sites don't spawn. Should add a list of variables that other users could use to code their own scripts. Yeah, that's so they can hijack the variables. That's a good idea, actually. With a lot of things, so people can hijack whatever code we use and amend to their needs. Good point. some so they can detect the positions and spawn in their own AI or something like that. All sites, well, they're a bit delayed, so technically yes, they spawn on mission start, but there's a bit of a delay, so there's no uber lag. So basically yes, as soon as the mission starts, sites start to spawn in. But it's a bit delayed, staggered, or sort of that, the players don't feel like, alright, it's lagging so much, everything's spawning in. Obviously on a server it's easier because before the players join in, the server is already started, so usually that's even better there. But yeah, basically mission start. Scripting their own way to show. Yeah, that's a good idea. We can do that. Yeah, anyway, there's so much information. We should probably pack into a wiki somehow. Either one aspect is like, all right, how do you deal with medical issues? How do you deal with that feature? So one part I want people to be able to just discover. So like, it's kind of cool if you don't know everything about the game and there's a lot of depth and so on. But some stuff might be frustrating, and it's also, if you don't know that the stuff is there, it's probably also not fun. That plus, yeah, some sort of tool for other mission makers that they can access the assets of VA. Good idea. And that's not hard. We just provide a list per site of interesting variables that they can access. Heli crash sites, do you want them to despawn? Yes or no? I usually turn it off. Maybe in a single player mission you want to despawn that stuff after a while, so it keeps being interesting. Or you just leave it and whatever you've looted is looted, and you'll have to try it at another place. Your params per site per player per. Yeah, exactly. Whatever is interesting. Yeah, makes sense. All the illnesses and so on. Someone had a good idea too, because of the issue with the infection, that you just find out any other infection system and VBK or Necroplague, and just hitchhike it. So wait for the variable that stands for the other infection system to turn true, and then turn it back to false and activate the VA infection system. So we can use that, and others can use it in another way then. Very good idea. Right, Alley Crash. Well, how many do we select? Jumping hoops. Yeah, if the fancy way doesn't work, just use brute force. Everybody's coughing here and has sore throats. I'm not sure if it's here. It's like either cold and then after lunchtime it gets super hot. Switzerland, so not sure. Seems like everybody's having a cold now. So my voice is a bit weird. Sorry. Heli spawns, just as it says, functioning helicopters. Yeah, you can whitelist if you want only a certain selection of helicopters to spawn, else it takes all the helicopters from your active mod list and spawns those. I usually like if it's not a huge number, because it should kind of be rare to find a helicopter. Since in spawns, we increase that as well. To other sites, let's put it a bit higher. Now whitelist, enable respawn, so if the helis get destroyed, we respawn. Heliside despawn delay, we want this delay. And always remember, if it's about time here, it's seconds, so you'll have to calculate that into minutes and just put enough time so it makes sense. For testing, I usually put it to very low, so I can actually test stuff, but in a real game scenario, you want some longer delays. If it's heli spawn, why it does? Oh, thanks. That's a wrong tooltip text. My tooltips are so garbage. I gotta fix that. Thank you for spotting. Telespawn. Hideouts are like smaller camps, and that's just a couple of tents and a couple of bandits, but also some loot. Only full max. Oh, and it's good, man, it's good. I'm gonna find all the mistakes. Just keep remembering that whenever you are in the settings, make sure override client is ticked and override mission is ticked, and you're on the server tab. Just to repeat that. I actually didn't pay attention now, but if you don't do that, some settings might not be applied to a client or something. We enable hideout. We can here select again what stuff spawns at the loot crate. Usually, I mean, I try to have a bit more variety, but usually it's all about loot. So whenever you find some site like that, you'll have to defeat the guys there and get the loot. So first challenge is finding those sites and then defeating the guys without getting killed or injured, and then looting. I used to have IEDs around those sites. I did actually not include that code in EA3. I should probably do that at some point, because it was quite cool code, so that there's a chance that some IEDs are near those sites. It's a bit more difficult, but yeah, with the dude's idea, we can also, you know, users can also add that. In case you don't want them to be marked, can you just mark them both? No, I don't want them to be marked. I only want them. So the debug marker is anyway only for testing, and the enable markers is, you know, those pretty markers on the map, and those I only want to pop up if I find survival diaries. So I don't want them to be on the map. Sorry, I misunderstood. Sorry. I'm not sure actually. I think you can in the settings. I think I started to do that for newer settings. I'm not 100% sure, because if you set up the CBA settings, you can select if a setting is forced. And if a setting is forced, then everything is ticked. So what you're saying is probably what I started doing with the later features, but I have not rewritten all the settings. It's the same as force, yeah. If you work in the CBA settings file that the dude mentioned earlier, where you can work on a separate document and not in this overview, you just put force before every setting variable to force the override for both clients and missions. That's correct. Right. Yeah. Similar setup as Bandit camps. It's just a different type of camp. And then we have the ships. A ship wreckage is basically wreckage at the beaches, and then somewhere nearby out in the sea you'll find a shipwreck that has a loot box. And I just noticed that the shipwreck loot box is not customizable yet, so I'll have to fix that. Yeah. Also, I mean, this system you only need that if you have a coastline, else it doesn't make sense. Underground sites. So that's fake bunkers. I forgot to add in a debug marker here. Put in a bit more of those. So this is basically on the map, it will spawn sort of entry, bunker entries, and outside the map it will spawn in structures that you get teleported to. And what it basically does, it fakes underground sites. So basically you go underground by accessing those entry points. Yeah, the shipwreck spawner spawns stuff on the shore, like some loot boxes and trash that you can look at, and you get some sort of a hint or a message like, oh, there's a shipwreck somewhere. And then further out in the sea, somewhere nearby, there's a shipwreck that you can dive to. You usually need diving equipment for that, I think, else you don't see anything. Or at least that's the idea. Underground sites, no, they don't have a symbol on the map. Actually, they don't even have any symbol, so it's interesting, we need to add that. In the current setting that I just did now is nothing has a yeah, let's check them out. But they actually, yeah, that's a good one. I need to add at least the option to have debug markers and to also detect those markers. I'm confused now. I think so. The system works in a way where you find survivor diaries from dead AI or loot, and if you search those diaries, there's a chance that you detect a site, one of those sites that we just showed. And I think underground sites are included, they just don't have a nice symbol yet. I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe I can size these. Let's try to check. I'll quickly double check if I need anything else. So there's the survival system with degradation, item degradation, so items, food items go bad, so you cannot hoard them forever. Hydration, nutrition, you can adjust how quickly you should lose hydration and nutrition. Make sure to test that for us, because the dude and I think it's not working as intended. We didn't get to properly fix that. Temperature system is probably the least finished. There's a working system behind it, but it's probably very badly tuned. So, and in order to monitor it, it's very hard to monitor it properly. So there's a temperature system and a gear system that affects your temperature, and different activities will affect your temperature. So you might overheat, you might be okay, or you might freeze to death, and something in between. And it will also affect your hunger and your thirst, blah blah blah. And you shake and so on. But I think we've disabled quite a lot of effects because it was just too random, not well tuned. So here it's probably the biggest work ahead of us to sort of either add a lot of settings so users can tune it themselves, or just really fix it. 12 food items, they are duplicates. No, some survival, they look similar, but it's a completely different system. So if you want to use the VA system, I would suggest don't use the Ravage system. VA will not spawn any Ravage items either, so unless you put in Ravage items, you will never need them. And yes, basically VA doesn't need Ravage items, we have our own items. And yeah, so if you would activate the Ravage loot system, you could not use those survival items and food items for VA. Our recommendation is disable that. We basically use Ravage mainly for the maximum for the ambient AI or for the ambient zombies. But meanwhile, we also replaced the AIs with our own. And really just use Ravage for the zombies. That's better, only choose VA item script. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, temperature, feel free to test it out. It's not really flashed out yet, so I'll have to work on that sometime. Vehicles, vehicle system, I'll leave that in. I'll leave the markers in because they might be fun to show some features. For anyone who doesn't know the development videos on that topic, but you can basically find vehicles. You can then get those vehicles, repair them, scavenge them, fill them with loot, and park them somewhere, and they get saved on your server or on your mission if you use any database. The persistency mod, so that's quite cool. And I think it works fairly well. The only problem with the vehicle spawn system is that sometimes those bloody vehicles just explode, and I don't really know why. Beware of that. You can, depending on what mods you have active, you can exclude some type of mods or some type of armor vanilla type of vehicles. For example, if you don't want any military vehicle to spawn, you should probably turn off all those three, east, west, independent, and only allow civilian vehicles. But that's up to you. Or if you do not want any DLC vehicles to spawn because your users do not have DLC, disable that and just have civilians of spawn. I usually do that because I don't want too many tanks. You can whitelist vehicles, blacklist certain vehicles. Right, that's probably it. Medical system, you can turn it off or on. It's meanwhile a core feature of VA, so not turn it on. You can automatically heal in VA if you're under good condition, you're not bleeding or infected or starving. You can also turn it off. You can adjust how much you get healed, how much fall damage you take, what body part takes how much damage. What happens if you whitelist and blacklist? I'm too scared to try actually. I don't think we should try. Try? No, let's not try. I think probably depending on what the script checks first or checks last is then considered. So one thing will probably disable the other thing. Or it creates a black hole, I don't know. Someone will find out. Medical system, radiation system, we have a radiation system in. Dynamic radiation is where it spawns radiation zones randomly. You can also place markers, and define the name and put the name in here. So you have specific areas where you want radiation to be low or high, or no radiation at all if you leave it out. And you can adjust how many dynamic areas radiation are spawned. I have so many bad tooltips. This should be the count, how many areas. This should be the minimum size of the area. And this is the maximum size. So it's randomly sized group areas. To change that. And there's a chance of having high radiation zones and low radiation zones. A low or high? Wait, what? This one? A low, high. No, those are radiation areas. Low are markers for low-level radiation areas, and the high ones are markers for higher radiation areas. So the radiation poisoning in low areas comes in smaller doses, sort of, and in higher areas you're basically, if you stay in a low area without protection, you die at some point of poisoning, radiation poisoning, or whatever it's called. Basically, behind low is just a standard radiation effect that is applied. So when you're in a low radiation zone, 5 what's it called? 5 units of radiation are applied to you, and if you stand in one of the high radiation markers, 20 units of radiation are applied to you. So that answers the question. The one is just very deadly, and the other one you can go through with maybe minimal protection gear. Yeah, for example, that's that. 5 rad per 10 seconds or something like that. So, but you feel is like one of the differences. If you have maximum, Duncan, yeah, thank you. I had that. I knew that when I wrote the script, but forget. No, it's not like. It's actually like that too. It's both. I think. I forgot my own scripts. I think it's twofold. So one is just generally it's a more dangerous area than the other. It depends on what gear you have. If you have like some protection radiation gear, you might actually still take some radiation from the low areas. And if you are in a high radiation area, you really need the high-end radiation gear, protection gear, to stand a chance to stay in there. So something like that. There's some videos on it. If people are interested, you can watch it. Some of the devlogs, and also test it. But it's basically that. It's like one will kill you fast. Yeah, let's test it. Blah 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 blah. Talking for way too long in here. But yeah, that's how it works. Keybinds, I posted something. I think for a lot of people that's not clear. You can select a use action, and that is one of those custom controls you can select. So see here, the use action, and so on. Makes sense? You can select whatever you have selected previously and assign a key to it. What else? Let's play. Panic. Right. Oh, okay, funny. I have the same ini database mod active that I used before, so this is actually my save point. Luckily, it's from a mission with a same on the same map, so this is where I left my player the last time. Oh, what do we have here? Word type. Undefined. Okay, so there's a problem with the carpool. If you remember, I disabled a couple of options, so it should not be able to spawn. Oh, okay, I did a whoopsie. The arrows you just saw is coming from the vehicle spawner. That's actually something I recently saw. What I did here is basically I bulk exclude Arma and Arma DLC vehicles, but I do not have any other mod that spawns vehicles, so I cannot do that. It now doesn't. This way it doesn't have anything to spawn, and it causes an error because it cannot find any pool of vehicles to spawn. One, I should disable that in that scenario, but I need also to change the code, so if there's no vehicles to spawn, it should exit the code. Instead of throwing an error. Great, bug fixed. Next try. I think it's also not that clear how ini data foolproof code exactly. I think let's hope the error doesn't pop up now, because then it's another issue. Ooh. What was I saying? I forgot. Anyway, Shift F. What the hell? Oh, Shift F5 to holster my weapon. And we wanted to check the underground bunkers. Let me think. So you see, I did not select any, enabled any markers, so except for the vehicles, so I only see the vehicles. I don't remember how many vehicles are allowed to spawn. So this is one of the vehicles. Sometimes spawns with loot, sometimes not. Right. What we wanted to look for is bunkers, right? I'm thinking. The map, I don't know that server. Well, probably. I mean, armor-free survival, it would be a to-go map, I guess, for any survival server. Something burns there. No, focus on the bunkers. Let's find the bunkers. But to do that, I actually need to cheat and find the variables for the bunker names. Yeah, I'm so bad at focusing. I wanted to do a 1 hour stream, now I'm 2 hours and I haven't done anything yet, so I might actually just visit the bunkers and then call it quits. And I'm actually not sure if that stream was any helpful, but might just have to practice again. I'm currently looking into the script to find the. I want to teleport myself to one of the bunker entries. I don't want to use these. Sites here. player, set pause. How does that work? Get marker, pause. Yes. Yeah, I still got it. Hex. I should probably do those streams with a stream script though. Right, so this is how the underground locations look. I'm not sure what the initial question was, but I think the dude then suggested that we just look at it. So you won't see those entries on the map. They're basically you can find them somewhere. Usually they're in woods, a bit hidden. And what they do is they sort of teleport you to a fake underground site. But what it's supposed to do is mimic you entering an underground bunker. And you can then discover that bunker. This is the exit then again. It didn't teleport me there. That's just, there's not a proper way to teleport you right here. So yeah, that's the best we could do. And then you can just discover those underground sites. If you're unlucky, there's not a player in here waiting for you. And if you're very lucky, there's just a crate. Fake launcher, what the hell? With a lot of fancy loot that then you can take home. The VA flashlight, of course we take that. And here, I mean, again, this really depends on your loot crate setting. Can go crazy. I actually want to add a setting where you can limit the round count of, if you don't want those 100 round mags to spawn. I should probably add a setting where you can limit that. Shouldn't be too big of a deal. Yeah, and let's get some boots, morphine, tools, fuel canister, that's survivor diaries. Something to show. Vodka, we still don't have an application for vodka other than crafting, I think. Yeah, so now what you can see here is we're actually outside of the map, but inside a bunker. So I can show you. Actually, like camera. So this is basically what the game does. It spawns those bunkers. It closes the windows, so to get you the feeling that you're like underground. And this is outside the map. You cannot walk here. If you leave the map, you'll get damaged. That's a new system. So basically, the game kills you if you get outside the map. What you can see here is the support structures of all those underground bunkers. That. The hell are you doing here? That is me. Why am I down here? How did I teleport? That's really weird. That was weird. Let's disregard this. Strange. No, it's a completely different map project. Yeah, I probably accidentally teleported. But yeah, that's the underground side. It's a little bit of magic and trickery to make you feel like you go underground, because obviously that's not possible in Arma, although there seems to be this new deformer mod or whatever it is that allows you to actually change the map in editor. I just discovered it yesterday or today. Not sure how well it works, but I was quite astonished to see that. Is there anything else you want to check out? You want to see something you don't get? Maybe. My the whole string is really not reacting. That's weird. So I can eat. Most of the sites that are hidden can be discovered by using those survivor diaries. So if you find some of those, double click it. It will either give you a hint about a cooking recipe or crafting recipe, as here. So just to show you a bit what can be done. Or it will actually uncover a site. And then if it does that, you will see such a site on your map. Let's actually try to fake that so I can show you. Item. God, how did it? Oh, the map system. Sorry, I also misunderstood. Point of interest. Yeah. Sorry, FCB. I also misunderstood. The map is Tau folded map mod. That's integrated, and that's one of the credits I still have to put onto the description. But I think it was called Tau folded, right? Yeah. So sorry, I misunderstood your initial question. Yeah, it's kind of cool. So if you press M, you get this map. If you press Shift M, you get the big map. You can also adjust that in the settings. I think that can only deform along one axis, so probably not anything complex with it. Okay, well, fair enough. Wanted to quickly show the diaries. How you can get the points of interest. How to detect new points of interest. So either you get a tip about how to craft something, or you get lucky and you get a new point of interest. Now, if you look on the map, then it will show you show you the map of interest, the point of interest. Sorry. In this case, it's a so to do it, it's no longer a question mark. It actually shows you what it is. So now we have detected a crash site. So we could, set that as a goal to travel there, or be lazy and teleport. Yeah. Did we speak? I didn't change it, and we can change it. We can change it to question mark. Might be more exciting to not know what it is. So yeah, we can debate if a question mark is better, or if we want to know where we're going. Question mark is probably more exciting, right? So here's the crash site system where you have a destroyed area. Looks quite messy. What I like about the crash site is that basically everybody can spot it that is nearby because of the smoke. Especially on a server, when you're here, you'll be exposed. So and you'll have to spend some time here exposed to find the crate, because the crate is basically hurled out of the helicopter and it's somewhere in the area. So you have to find a camouflage colored crate in this mess. If you're in the woods, it's a bit messier than on a field, obviously. But yeah, that's the challenge here, to find the crate before someone else finds you, especially on servers with other people. I found it quite funny. You want them to be hidden, mark here. What do you mean by that? Really confused why. Oh, okay. I really have a bad reaction of the holster key. Point of interest discovered. Okay, that's funny. Now we have a question mark. Oh, okay. So the underground sites are marked as question mark. I should probably change that for all. Right. This was such a hassle to get this spawned like that. Obviously, everything you see here is spawned in. That's not pre-placed or something. That's just VA spawning and stuff. Basically, the basic idea behind VA is that all that stuff is spawned randomly. Let's do another one. Afterwards, we call it then. Oh, we're lucky. See here, we found a boat far out in the sea. That's far out. Oh, there it is. Good luck swimming out there. I mean, you can add a settings for it so the mission manager can. Good, yeah, fair, yeah. So we can use whatever we have now and add another exit. So basically, if the setting is, yeah, I agree. That's probably the best. Depending on how easy you want it, yeah, choice to the user. I agree. Is there an application for vodka? No, vodka is only crafting yet. We need to find something funny for that. To put away my weapon. Okay, so you see here it detected a hideout. So screwed. Ugh. So hideouts are just little burning fires. You can also, obviously you will not always know the point, so if you search the woods, you can see probably the fire at night. And you then can loot their camps. And depending on your setting, there's more or less loot in here. It really depends then how you want to tune the loot, if there's more food here or medical supply. That you really just have to tune how you like it. Yeah, you're right, absolutely. If we would be a big corporate, we would have that on our lobby wall. VA is all about customization. Oh shit. So here we go. Infection system is live and bleeding, I think. Yeah, we're bleeding and we're infected, so we're basically screwed because we have not cured ourselves. If you see on the top right, we took some damage, and on the right side, but left-ish logo you see, or HUD icon, you see that we're infected and that we're bleeding. Proper ending for the stream, that's a very good point. So, didn't pay attention, got bitten by zombies. If we can actually show the cure. So that will be a key thing to adjust, like how much antivirus stuff spawns, how does the medical supply stuff spawn, and it will be quite critical that you take care of that stuff first before you get into danger. Do not have an injector. Damn, we're gonna die. So we can slow the infection, but we cannot stop it right now. And try to check what we have. So So we can see our medical situation. We're quite damaged a little bit. We have no bullet wounds, but we have a cut, and we're getting attacked. This is obviously not updated live. Why are they so sneaky? And I don't have any. So, my experience, the IMS proof melee system works well on SP and hosted multiplayer, but not on dedicated. And I cannot imagine that there's not a solution for it. So it must be something I do wrong. So if anyone figures out how to use IMS and Web Knights and probably some other Ravage zombies together on a mod, and you can actually kill those guys and they can kill you, tell me how you did that, because I was not able to get it done on our server. So either I could not damage those VVK zombies or they could not damage me. Same with the melee weapons and Ravage zombies, so it's really odd. Anyway, I think we call it here. I'll try to make the thing a bit more structured next time and maybe give people a bit more head start, so they know that there'll be a stream or ask me anything possibility. Else just you know, post your questions on why am I not respawning? Did I forgot a setting? That's not good. Interesting. Possible bug found. What a crap ending. Oh. Very interesting. Respawn bugged. Yeah, maybe I didn't. That shouldn't happen. No one saw that. I'll edit it out. But that's weird. Something to check. That hasn't happened in a very long time. Respawn custom position. Really weird. Really weird. Anyway, thank you guys. Okay, you have another question on top of where testing or custom code. Could you also give us a list of class names for V? Yes, definitely. I need to do that. I think I need to provide a list of the loot pools that could be helpful to access, the loot categories, so you can access that stuff. And yeah, the class names, sure. I'll export that. That's probably the easiest thing. Yep, will do. See you guys next time. Thanks for everyone that has been testing the mod so far. I will upload this video to YouTube. I don't think it will be too helpful, but you know, let's get this thing rolling again. Good night, guys. Cheers.